difference to me. All right, so you know how we just learned how to multiply binomials? We're actually going to do more of the same stuff. We're still going to be multiplying binomials, but there are certain patterns that emerge when you multiply certain types of binomials. So they're called special products. Take a look at the little lion tiger. He's pointing to a box that says squaring binomials, and this is basically what it looks like. If you have a binomial that is multiplied by the exact same binomial, then you end up getting a certain pattern. So what does that mean? What if I gave you a question like this? For example, x plus 1 times x plus 1. First of all, I want you to recognize that when you have the exact same two binomials, you can rewrite them so it's x plus 1 all of it squared. I'll give you another example. What if I had 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 1? Do you notice that these are the same exact thing? You can rewrite those, or you can see it rewritten as 2x plus 1 all of it squared. One more example, how about like 5x minus 3 times 5x minus 3? We can rewrite that so it's 5x minus 3 all of it squared. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, what we could do is when I give you a question like this, you could just FOIL it like you usually do. So let's go back to the very first example I have here. If something was written like this, you're actually thinking of it like this. We've gotten practice doing this, so I'm just going to go x times x is x squared, x times positive 1 is 1x, 1 times x is positive 1x, and 1 times 1 is 1, and then this ends up being x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so that's just a regular FOILing question that we've been learning all along. But what if I were to tell you, that's so hard to read, my goodness. What if I were to tell you that when you have a binomial that's multiplied by the same thing, there's actually a pattern that emerges, and you can use that pattern to answer the question. Is that a little better? Kind of? No, sorry. I'm going to work on getting that bulb. Okay, so here is the pattern. This is the FOILing method. This is the way we've all learned. But now I'm going to just show you the pattern that you can sometimes see. Okay, so here's what you do. You take the first term and you square it. So it's going to be x squared. You take the last term and you square that. 1 times 1 is just a 1. And then you multiply this times the number 2. So it's going to be 2 times x times 1. What does 2 times x times 1 give me?
Wait, sorry.
Yeah, I'll show it to you again. I'll just move it down and over. So again, you take the first term and you square that. So squaring is x times x, which gives you x squared. You take the second term and you square that. 1 times 1 is a 1. To get the middle term, you're going to take this number and this number, multiply them together, and then also multiply that by a 2. So what is x times 1 is just x. X times 2 is going to give me 2x. And if it has a positive sign, then you just add a bunch of pluses, and then that's how you get your answer. I'll do a couple of them so you can see the pattern. What is the point of this? Honestly, there is no point. You can actually just FOIL it and get your answer that way. If you're not comfortable with this pattern, not a big deal, you don't have to. The only time you really have to use the pattern is when I give you questions like this, like the fill in the blank questions that you see. For questions like this, if you know the pattern, the question becomes so much easier because then you don't have to sit there and FOIL and work backwards and stuff like that. You can just follow the pattern and it should work. I'm going to do a couple of examples where I'm following the pattern, see if they make sense. Okay, let's try 3x plus 1, all of it's squared. Kind of lagging. Give me a second. It's going to come up. There we go. So I want to do this both methods just to show you that it's exactly the same thing. Let's start by FOILing this just like we used to before. So 3x plus 1, all of it squared, that is the same as writing 3x plus 1 times 3x plus 1. You guys have been practicing doing this, so go ahead and do it and see if we get the same answer. Did you guys get 9x squared plus 6x plus 1? Okay, so that's the FOIL method. You can always use the FOIL method. We've practiced that. But let's say I wanted to use the pattern. I'm going to show you the pattern again. So the original question is 3x plus all of it squared. Here is what you do. So if you didn't understand it the first time, just take a look, pencil down, just try to understand what I'm saying here. Okay, you're going to take the first term inside of this bracket. So see the 3x? And then you're going to square the entire thing. So it's kind of like saying 3x all of it squared. I'm not going to write that. I'm just going to actually figure it out. What is 3x all of it squared? It's like saying 3x times 3x. What is that? Yeah. Yeah. So our first term here is going to be 9x squared. And I got that by taking this term and multiplying it to itself. So 3x times 3x. Now we're going to take the last term and we're going to do the same thing. What is 1 times 1? Yeah, and I'm going to put that all the way at the end. So don't put it close to it. That's the last term. To get the middle term, you're going to multiply the 3x times the 1 times the number 2. So if you want to write that somewhere down, 3x times 1 times the number 2, what's all of that going to give me? Hamangi? It's just going to be a 6x. That's going to be your middle term. Good. And the pattern is if you have a plus sign, if you just take a look over here, when you have a plus sign in the original question, this will be positive and positive. And when you have a negative sign, the pattern will be negative and positive. So you do have to memorize those signs a little bit. Plus is plus plus, and then minus is negative plus. So in this question, because it's a plus, what positive in the question, what am I going to put down over here? Yeah. I'm just going to put down plus and plus. Does this match our answer that we got when we FOILed it? Okay. What is the benefit of this? It's just a quicker way to do it. But if you don't like it, you don't have to do it. You can keep to FOIL. The only time I'm going to force you to do it is if I give you one of these questions, which we'll practice doing as well. And then you're kind of going to have to do it, although people have found ways around it. Okay, let's try this. Hopefully with this example, it might start to make a little bit more sense. So again, let's begin by foiling it just so that we're comfortable with that and we can see where it's coming from. So it's going to be 3x minus y times 3x minus y. The middle number you get when you multiply the first term times the second term times the number 2. So it's 3x times 1 times 2. And you can see that in this part right here. See how it's like if this is an a and this is a b, the first term is just a squared, the second term is b squared, and the middle term is 2 times a times b. That's the pattern I'm following. Now keep in mind the next one has a negative sign, so I'm going to have a minus and then a plus when I do the pattern, not yet. Okay, so when we're foiling, 3x times 3x is 9x squared. This will be negative 3xy. This will be negative 3xy, and this will be positive y squared. Did you guys get 9x squared minus 6xy plus y squared? Yeah, I think I might have done that a little bit fast, so I'm going to just pause. So let's try the same question. This time, let's do it with the pattern. So I'm just going to write down the pattern up here. Let's be consistent. P-A-T-T-E-R-N. Again, the pattern is just a quick, useful way for you to do it. You don't need to. If you like FOIL, you can just FOIL it. But it's kind of good to know. Okay, so you're going to take the first term and you're going to multiply it to itself. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. To get the last term, you're going to take this last number and multiply it to itself. So y times y is y squared. To get the middle term, what you're going to do is you're going to take the 3x times the y times the number 2. So take this term, multiply it with this term, and then multiply it with 2. What will this give me? 3x times y times 2. 6. Good. 6xy. And then in order for us to figure out the signs, we have to just look at the pattern here. If you have a minus in the original question, you're going to have a negative sign and then a positive sign. So I'm just going to put in a negative here and then a positive here. Samir?
So like, you know, we
All right, so let's try question 3A. Like I said, now we're kind of forced to use our pattern, so let's try to figure it out. We have 3x minus y, all of it squared. This is kind of like saying 3x minus y times 3x minus y. And if you absolutely hate the pattern, you don't understand it, you can just go ahead and FOIL this and then put in your final answer here. But just for extra practice, we're going to go ahead and try the pattern. In order to figure this out, we're going to first say 3x times 3x is 9x squared. What will y times y give us? Oh, is it actually exactly the same? Oh, whoops. Okay, so this will just was the same. Okay, let's try question C. So for question C, we're working backwards. Basically, what two numbers did we multiply over here to get 25x squared? Angelique? 5 what? Yeah, in order for us to have gotten 5x squared, this must have been a 5x because 5x times 5x gives you 25x squared. So we're working backwards for that one. Now we can just think about it as usual. If I have a 2y here, to get the last term, I'm going to say 2y times 2y is going to give me 4y squared. Yeah. So that last term is going to be 4y squared. How do I figure out the middle term? I take the 5x times the 2y times the number 2. So what is 5x times 2y times 2 going to give me? What's that? Yep. I don't look at the signs. I put in my signs later. I'm just looking at the numbers. That's it. How many? 20xy, and that would be your final answer. I'm going to keep the fractions and the decimals for tomorrow's class. Like I won't take those up right now. We should just practice the regular stuff. Let's do maybe one more question. Maybe let's try B. Actually, we'll do B and D. I'll pause here. Go ahead and try question B and D. So let's look at this. They've given you the first number here. It's a 2x. 2x times 2x will give us. Good. So this term right here is a 4x squared. Now we're working backwards. They've given you 25y squared. So basically, what two numbers did you have to multiply over here to get 25y squared? It's the same as before, Mandy? Yeah, so this has to be a 5y. To get them, is this exactly the same as the other one? Oh my goodness, we keep doing the exact same questions. To get the middle term, I'm going to multiply 2x times 5y. I don't care about the sign because the sign's already in there. Times the number 2. So what did you get for this? 20xy. All right. Question D is different. So this is good. And this will be the last one because I don't want to do all of your homework questions. I want to save some so we can take them up tomorrow. Okay, so now we're working backwards for both of these. If this number is 16w squared, what two numbers did I multiply to get 16w squared, right? 4 and w. So 4w times 4w. Yeah, good. What two numbers did I multiply to get 49? Saran? 7 and 7, yeah. Now the middle term, we're going to multiply 4w times 7 times 2. What's that going to give me? Mangi? 56w as your final answer. Is this starting to make a little bit more sense now that we've done a couple of examples? Okay, so for this part, your homework will be to finish off the fill in the blanks. The answers are all at the bottom. I hope all the answers are right. Check your work. And then we'll just do one more thing, which is much easier. And I'll also assign that homework. There's one more pattern for you guys to note, and it is multiplying conjugates. So first of all, what are conjugates? I will write down examples of conjugates, and I want you to tell me what it means. So x plus 3, x minus 3. 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. 5a plus 3 and 5a minus 3. Do you see a pattern? What's the pattern? What are conjugates? Najib? What's different? The sign, right? So conjugates are exactly the same terms, exactly the same variable, exactly the same numbers. The only thing that differs is the positive and the negative sign. Binomials, when you square them, they have to be exactly the same, but conjugates, they have a different negative and positive. So again, you can FOIL them, but a really easy way to get the answer is all you have to do is multiply the first number, all you have to do is multiply the second number, and that's your final answer. So I'm going to show you the same, I'm going to show you the FOIL way and then the pattern way, and you can decide which one you want to use. So we'll do 2 examples and we'll be done. Let's try this the FOIL way. So go ahead and try this question using FOIL, and I'll do the same up here. Did you guys get 4x squared minus 25 when you FOILed it? Did you guys notice that when you have conjugates, like 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 5 are conjugates, what happens to the middle term? It goes away, it becomes a 0. So that's why the pattern is when you have 2 conjugates, all you have to do is you have to multiply the first terms together. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. You multiply the second term together, 5 times 5 is 25. You put a minus sign, and that's it. That's your answer. I'll repeat that one more time. When you have 2 conjugates, like the same exact term, the only thing that differs is the positive and negative, you multiply the first terms together, the last terms together, put a negative sign, and that's it. So a times a is a squared, b times b is b squared, and then the sign will just be a negative. I find often that you guys like to use the pattern for this. Just make sure you use it properly when they're conjugates. Okay, last example. If it was 2 positives, it wouldn't be a conjugate anyways. For something to be a conjugate, it has to be a plus and a minus sign. Yeah. So either way, it's going to be a minus. All right, let's go ahead and try foiling this. Let's use the pattern and see what we get. So I'm gonna have maybe I'll use, you will not be able to see the yellow, blue. Okay, so I'm just gonna write down pattern here. Here's how we would use a pattern. So it'll be 2. I recognize these are conjugates, so I know I can use this pattern. I'm going to multiply the first 2 terms together. What's 4x times 4x? 16x squared. And then what's 3y times 3y? 9y squared. And I know the sign has to be a minus because that's what my pattern up here tells me. You're going to go a times a is a squared, b times b is b squared. A positive and a negative will give you a negative. And then I just multiply the 2, so it's going to be 32x squared minus 18y squared. And you can see you get the exact same answer. It's just so much faster to do it that way. Yep. Yep. Then the 2 is just like a regular distributive. Yeah. Yes.
Like,
Then you would add a -1. Then you distribute like a -1. Okay. I also just want you to recognize that this is different than this. For this stuff, it was you're multiplying exactly the same two terms, so they're identical. But for the conjugates, there's a 1 plus and 1 minus. So your homework for this is going to be the rest of the sheet, questions 3, 4, and 5. The answers are at the bottom. And then there are also textbook questions for you to try for homework. So I'll just stop this here and I'll go over all of your homework and then we can talk